This is the final presentation for Rockstar managers. Our group members are Holly Penninman, Donald Hoover, Jason Ketchum, Matthew Gonzalez, and Michael Suppa. In our summary, in Principles of Management class, we were given an assignment to create a TV show and incorporate lessons learned from the required text. When we first saw the overview of the project and the requirements that was attached to it, our team thought it might be a bit overwhelming. We were given a task to pick a concept from the book and make a show that could be aired on television. We were to deploy a storyline that coincided with themes from the text. We were also tasked with creating characters that could play out our story and personify the management ideals we modeled. This project required a storyboard of 7 episodes, and each one is elaborated in this document. Our team thought we would be lost when setting out on this endeavor, especially as an online group. However, each week we were tasked with creating a piece of the project that we were required in the final deliverable. This report is a culmination of that. We really enjoyed this method of project management. Without realizing it, we were learning another concept of management. In the introduction to our show consists of 7 episodes designed to tell a story about ethical behavior in the workplace. With the main theme of our show being managerial ethics, we wanted to show how the standards of business conduct were not followed by members of our cast. As a small grocery store, the employees spend considerable time with one another inside and often outside of work. It can be those scenarios that muddy the waters and lead to ethical dilemmas. Charles and Stacy find themselves misjudging the probability of effect in their circumstance, and we wanted to show how that can play out in the real world. With the other participants in our show, Robert and Kim, we see that the concentration of effect is much wider than anticipated as well. The small little grocery store is much different at the end of our little show than when it began. People change for various reasons, but an organization wants to hold on to its great employees. Loyal customers like seeing the same faces in the businesses they frequent. It gives them a sense the company is stable and is worthy of getting their business. Ethel shows her displeasure in our show for that very reason, and she is the kind of customer most businesses, like the one we portrayed, would love to have. Now we're going to introduce our characters. Charles is a 32-year-old hardworking individual. He was married once to his high school sweetheart, but that didn't last too long. He spent 10 years working to get where he is store manager at ShopRite. Stacy is 28 years old and she works as a cashier in a store. This is her 3rd job in 3 years, and she just can't seem to find something that fits. Her last job was a servant at Carrabba's. She quit after 6 months because she had a bad breakup with the bartender and made working there uncomfortable. Kim is 42 years old. She's a single mother of 3 boys, aged 10, 12, and 7. She's worked at the store for 5 years now. She is a very good employee, and she's been trying to take on more responsibility at the store. Robert is a 68-year-old man who has been at the store for over 2 years. He got a job to supplement his retirement income. He had worked at the Museum of Fine Arts in St. Petersburg for 35 years. Ethel is 86 years old and still as sharp as a tack. She goes into the store every Tuesday with the shuttle from Ashton Gardens retirement home. She loves to shop around her little store. The general idea of our storyline at ShopRite is a local grocery store in St. Petersburg, Florida. Charles is the store manager. The store has between 15 and 20 employees working at any given time. The scenario in which we are depicting is an inappropriate relationship between the manager and the subordinate. We will also show the impacts that has on the other employees. Charles has been managing now for over 4 years. He's in his early 30s and has worked hard to get where he is. The employees describe him as a level-headed guy who has always been fair and understanding when addressing concerns. Recently, Charles and Stacy, cashier, have been seeing each other outside of work. They've been keeping it a secret as the company code of conduct policy strictly prohibits relationships between managers and their direct reports. These issues can be extremely damaging to any organization. Charles does work hard, and it is because he works hard that doesn't leave him a lot of time for the social life. Stacy really does like Charles, and is a good worker also. However, she has only been there for 8 months. We want to show how these kinds of violations with interoffice relationships can disrupt the foundation for an effective workforce. We also wanted to share some of our reflections that we learned while conducting this project. It was extremely difficult as a group, especially in an online setting, to get together. We had 5 members of our group that we needed to arrange times to meet on a semi-regular basis and accomplish these brief milestones along the way. Some of our key takeaways from that are: we had to show that there was great organizational skills. We want to leave this message with the future students that having these organizational skills will help you be more aware of how your group is performing and show how well you are handling your position. Also, being united as a group and being on the same page as each other is another important step that you must have to get the job done. Communication is probably the most important thing that we have learned throughout this project. If you're communicating with your group, you will understand what needs to be done and know what each person is responsible for. Then you may be successful as a group. Other advice for future students is to be in communication with your group each week and have your vision laid out so everyone understands what needs to be accomplished. Have set group meetings so that you can discuss how the project is going and if people have questions or need help. Remember to work together. This is a very difficult project, but it can be accomplished by taking the parts and dividing up the work so where it's manageable pieces. Everybody that was in a group had lives outside of school, some worked, some had children and families, and we were all able to find the time to get to work done. If we were presented with this project again, we would spend more time learning how to use audio and video equipment. We also would try to schedule more frequent group meetings to allow for enough time for editing and revising concepts within the project. That was important to us because we won the audio and video equipment. No one in the group really had any experience other than taking the random family photo and a selfie with their phone camera. How to work kind of technical equipment, and then how to actually get those videos edited and loaded up to YouTube. So that was a challenge initially. Also, getting the projects having deadlines far enough in advance that would allow time for editing. We did find that there were some last-minute revisions that needed to be done prior to submission, and getting those done ahead of time would have been more beneficial because I think we would have been able to put more time and thought into what we wanted to communicate. The last thing is we want to think about it was one of the things that we had talked about as a group is how this type of setting may be a more common theme in today's workforce, talking about distributed teams and distributed workforces. Being able to remotely accomplish bite-sized pieces of a much larger project where none of your other team members reside anywhere within a close proximity to you. We feel that, again, these virtual teams, this newer concept is gaining ground. This felt like this was an experiment in that. We had tasks that were set out in front of us. We were not closely located. So we're very close and related to that. So this gives them great experience in those types of settings. We got to use some technology like Google Docs and VC. Google Docs is a software system that allows real-time manipulation of Word and Excel documents through a kind of a cloud-based system. VC was just a chosen video conferencing site, but it allowed for kind of seamless passing of documents, so we could integrate some of our documents that are on one desktop to another one of our team members simply by passing it to video. So that was a very handy tool. Uh, it was a great project, and from all of our group, we wanted to say thank you to the professors and also to the teaching assistant for their help throughout the year. Thank you.